Hi, it's me. I'm back from a long, long break. I've been up to some shenanigans. I hope you can hear me over the TV. I don't feel like turning it down right now. Well, I did go busking. I actually went busking. And it went swimmingly mediocre. And I did sing. I thought I sounded okay. Um, I was under the big canopy over on Fremont Street. I competed with the noise level. I couldn't, nobody could hear me. People sort of walked past. They were interested, but I don't know. I just wasn't, my presence wasn't felt. I felt, I wasn't engaging enough. And I felt that myself. I wasn't engaging enough. I was competing with the noise under the canopy. And you know, the drummer, was up the way, and there was a magician down the way, and they were more seasoned, and they had their setup right, and I was just there al fresco, just some little girl under the big tent, and it wasn't engaging. So I'll go back when I feel more confidence and I can figure it out how to do it. I don't know. It's not intimate gathering like I thought it'd be. I thought it'd be more intimate, but it's not. It's not intimate in the way I thought. And also, I did some door to door for Bernie Sanders. Um, I met some good volunteers. Talked to a few people. Bernie, as you know, won Nevada. Um, I'm disappointed about South Carolina. I think he's going to pick up Super Tuesday. South Carolina, the South is very conservative. There's a lot to overcome still in the South, I think, with people's perceptions of what's possible. But he needs such change in this country. Everybody's so stressed out, and it's just a big thing. You know, he he's like Obama in the sense that he'll get butts off the seats. You know, he'll put a fire under people to move and to vote, and I can see that, and I don't think the rest of them can do that. And the never Trumpers are Republicans, and they don't want this sort of change that needs to happen. So, they don't. To me, they don't dislike Trump because of what he believes. They dislike him because he's sort of coarse, and he's a little too open with what he believes, and that's embarrassing to them. But he's exactly what they bargained for, and he's just doing what they want him to do. He's just not artfully doing what they want him to do. So I don't know why everybody's listening to them for what Democrats needs to do. But that's neither here nor there. So hopefully Bernie will keep trudging along and just building up support. And I think it's very realistic myself. But anyway, oh, what? But I don't know how many of you have been watching this on HBO, but we have to talk about McMillions. I love McMillions. Have you guys McMillions? McMillions starts off slow, very slow, and I thought this is gonna be boring. I've seen American Greed. I thought myself, I've seen American Greed. I know the whole story, but you don't know the whole story. And it starts off with this uncharacteristically exu- bubbly, jubilant FBI guy who was bored doing the paperwork, law enforcement he's doing. He's chasing down people who cheat. I guess insurance companies, do medical fraud and that sort of thing. And he's bored with that, so he gets a tip that somebody's cheating on the McMillions game. and he jumps on it because he's so bored. And his hires up are like, well, that's probably nothing. And he says, well, let's look into it. And lo and behold, it's something, and it's a big thing. And I didn't watch, I didn't watch all of it in the beginning because it does start off slow, but it builds up to a point where they get somehow, some way, they get a crew together, a news crew, a fake news crew together, and they go out and they interview the people who have won the tickets. These fake, they're not fake tickets. They're real tickets. And the thing is, McDonald's doesn't know people got these tickets. The mob has the tickets. They have the little tickets. Did you ever wonder why you never knew who anybody who won? Well, all you would win was some fries or a drink in the stupid Monopoly game. Who was winning? I would always wonder how come you can get the fries and the thing, or you get like you there. I want like you'd always see like you'd be two or one one step away, not two steps, but one step away from winning like the Escalade. They had some big truck or something, or some big SUV or something you could win, and you would always be like, you get that ticket, that last ticket, over and over and over again. And I never heard of anybody winning the Escalade. I never heard of anybody winning the $1 million, and I never wondered why. But now I found out why, because the mob had all the tickets that were worth anything. And that's why you would always get these useless tickets. And I didn't even know that people were selling tickets on eBay so you could get the higher prices, like for the for the computers and the gaming systems and all of that. I didn't even know about that. So I was always getting with fries, and I didn't want fries. First, the fries, large fries. If you're there and you get a fry and you turn it in, that's one thing. But if you're at home, you're not gonna save this stupid thing and get some fries. But anyway, I digress. They had they started this, what did I do this film crew to interview the winners. And one of the few first winners that they interviewed was this salt of the earth woman, single mother, domestic worker, making minimum wage, buying her own home, supporting her and her son. And she's going through all of this about how she's going to spend the money and how she found the ticket, where she found the ticket. And it's getting a little too in depth of why they want all this information. And why do they want all this information? Because she's part of the scheme. How did this woman get in part of the scheme? How did this everyday person get this ticket? And make a long story short, it goes through all these sordid people, this plethora of diverse people, from this salt of the earth woman to this gangster named Columbo, who is rotten to the core. I'm sorry to say it, but sort of dumb. Dumb is sort of dumb. Okay, like he's not the brightest of the bright. He he to me is not like, for example, one of his wife. He not his wife. I bring up his wife, but she's a character too. But anyway, I digress. He starts up a strip club in a small southern town. Not a place you want to start up a just an out and out strip club. For one thing, he probably thinks he's the mob. He's gonna just step there and there from the East Coast and just boom, put it there, and these hicks are gonna love it. They've already got strip clubs. He just don't know where they are. They're not out in the open. He's not smart enough to know that they got liquor houses down there. There's a whole other thing down there. They got hidden elf in the woods and all of that. But anyway, he starts it in the middle of town where everybody can see it, so all the church people can go around complaining about it. So they go to the cops. The cops in the city hall every week are fighting him to close this thing down. So he decides, you know, he's going to start it as a church. He's going to call it a church. He thinks he's thumbing the nose at him. No, he's thumbing his nose at them, calling it a church. You know, he just plunks a Bible in the middle of this and of his strip club, and he thinks by having the girls wear clothes that they won't, you know, they'll leave him alone. They know soon as they turn their back, the women are going to be naked. He knows this. They know this. So they eventually get what they want and run him out of town. But in the meantime, he actually does is get his wife riled up, and she makes a bunch of threats like she is going to go to the feds and tell them what's going on and all that he's been doing. That's all he accomplishes is getting her angry, because one thing Mr. Columbo is going to do, he's not going to cheat on his wife with some bitch. Not with some stripping bitch. She's going to make sure of that. So, you know, his wife is another piece of work. She's a very feisty little woman, and she's quite a character in all of this. But she's the one that brought in the Salt of the Earth woman. Somehow they knew each other, and she's the one that told him, "Don't just give it to your mob. These tickets to your mob friends. You got to spread it out so nobody asks questions." He's not even smart. That's what I mean. He wasn't even smart enough to realize that people would be asking, why are only Italians from the East Coast winning the McMillions from McDonald's? Everybody eats McDonald's, but only this small set of people are winning. Like the government would have looked into that right away. But she gave this scheme a few more legs. But Uncle Jerry, Uncle Jerry. There's Jerry Colombo, then there's Jerry Jacobson, and then there's the whole sea of recruiters. I haven't even gone into how the scheme works. So the scheme works like this: if you want $1 million with Jerry Colombo, you give him $50,000, and he gives you a ticket for the million. And for the million, you get McDonald's gives you $50,000 a year for 20 years. Well, you have to give Big Jerry, Uncle Jerry, half of that for the next 20 years. So but how they get you is that the government is going to take their cut in taxes, but Jerry wants his cut, his $25,000, regardless of what the government takes. So the Salt of the Earth woman, she's getting $10,000 a year at net. So it's not really worth it to her after the end, and she ends up mortgaging her house to get Jerry Colombo the $50,000, which was his cut of this, and the $25,000 a year to Uncle Jerry. And she only did it because once she heard their deal, she knew she probably was in grave danger if she didn't tell them. If she no she Once they told her about the scheme, she would be in grave danger if she didn't go with it. But I'm up to 6. I'm skipping past a lot of things, but I'm up to 6, episode 6. I mean, and they have Salt of Earth people number 2. This guy, he is a country and western singer on his days off, and he's a businessman since the age of 15. He says he was brought in by see because Jerry Colombo dies in a car accident, and it might have been set up by Uncle Jerry. We don't know. He might have been trying to off the whole family because the wife was in the car, the baby was in the car. Car comes out of nowhere and hits them. T-bones them. Uncle coming, Uncle Jerry, he's a dangerous guy. His wife is a cop, and he's beating his wife's kids, and he's stalking his wife. And how you can stalk a working cop, you got to be a really dangerous person to get away with that. And I don't know how you're a mobster and you're married to a cop, but that's a whole nother thing. I don't know. But anyway, that's a whole nother thing. I'm not gonna get into all of that, my feelings on that. But I tell you, McMillions is blowing my mind. I can't even tell you. But in chapter 6, you got the cowboy singing businessman, and he gets brought in um, with the new recruiter once Jerry Colombo dies, and he's another cowboy businessman, and I don't know, but he knows some seedy people too. He's seemingly down to earth, straight arrow Christian businessman, but he's really not. He knows some drug dealers. he, he knows two of the most boringest looking, most nerdy looking drug dealers you ever did want to see. Not just stereotypical, you know. I guess the guy got into it by reading smut his friend wrote. His friend was a smut book. Before there was that smut book, I can't think today. What's that book? That book, 50 Shades of Grey. There was another one. There was a whole industry of it, I guess, in the 70s and 80s before people had cable and they could get smut on the internet. They had books. And he was the writer, and they showed his friend the writer, and the writer got him in the amyl nitrates, and he said you take them when you have an orgasm, and he took them, and he didn't even have an orgasm. He said he took them. He called his friend to get him out of the party, and next thing you know, he's dealing drugs. And so he got into it, you know, through this straight laced businessman. So how he knows Uncle Jerry, I didn't quite catch. I don't know if they've explained how he met Uncle Jerry, but anyway, he's another recruiter, and he knew the businessman, and the businessman got the straight laced singing cowboy involved in it, and the businessman did a good deed in that he didn't tell him the whole story. The singing cowboy businessman, the whole story. He told him that the guy who gave him the ticket just wanted to hide the money from his ex-wife, or his soon-to-be ex-wife. And like any man, he was greedy, and he said, "Yeah, I can understand that. I was divorced too. I I can understand that. You don't want to give these bitches any money." And so he said, "Yeah, okay. I'll take the ticket. I'll buy the ticket." So he bought the ticket, but this time it was like 100,000 to buy the ticket. Price has gone up from 50,000 to 100,000. But he bought the ticket, and he pretended that he won it. And I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if people went to jail. I think we got 2 more episodes to figure out who Big Jerry is, who goes to jail, who doesn't go to jail. Very interesting. And you get to see the happy FBI agent. I don't know his name. I didn't quite catch it. I've been falling asleep. Not during McMillian so much, but I've been falling asleep, waking up, and then it'll be on. Then sometimes it's not on. But I catch it. I haven't been listening. But anyway, that's it's just it's the best thing on TV right now. Not as good as Abducted in Plain Sight. Oh my God. Abducted in Plain Sight. That was so weird. I can't wait to get the podcast Obsessed by Abducted in Plain Sight. I want to see what I want to hear what they're going to say about that. I want to hear about the whole hidden storyline about him trying to adopt a girl from Mexico. Oh, I'm so glad that didn't go through. Oh, whew, my goodness. Sometimes things work out for the better. That's all I have to say. Well, that's my little foray into TV time with you. Um, I might be back on. I might not be back on soon. I don't know. Tomorrow's McMillions, I think. Maybe is tomorrow? Is it on Sunday? I think it is on Sunday. Maybe tonight. I don't know. You know what's HBO's on all week, so it doesn't matter. See you later.